I'm going to do the intro, so get ready for my monologue. Welcome to my random kitchen in our temporary home this week. I am Brittany Bass, a full-time passenger seat princess and operations manager of Becker Fishing. For those of you who don't know me now, what are you doing? It's episode 28, but I am also Matt Becker's girlfriend. He's a professional bass fisherman on the Bass Pro Tour, and we are actually at stage 7, so the last event on the Bass Pro Tour, and this is our second season there. So he is the reason why I'm always in these random kitchens. We travel all over the country so that he can bass fish. So that's how he got our name. And with this channel and podcast, I get to bring you some of the best wives, fiancés, and girlfriends, some that travel and some that don't travel, so that they can tell you about themselves, their lives, and all the behind-the-scene goodness that goes into making a tournament season possible. So, like I said, this is episode 28 and part 2 of Random Kitchens podcast. Okay, are you ready?
Me? I'm ready. Let's go.
Okay. All right. Welcome back, everybody. So this is part 2 of the one and the only Sara Stefan's podcast. She is an expert cavitation creator, boy mom to 2 awesome sons, fishing wife to BPT professional angler Matt Stefan, and most recently a certified lumberjack. So welcome back.
I'm a certified lumberjack?
Yes.
What do you mean?
Which I gotta circle back to ask how the tree situation is going
too. Got it.
So, did you get it removed?
Okay, so what Brittany's talked about is yesterday morning. So Matt is with your Matt right now in upstate New York. And so, as we talked about in the last podcast, part 1, I gotta just take care of all the stuff that happens at home, right, when he's gone. And so our driveway is really long, but the way it's situated, you can't see our driveway from the house. So the boys and I get in the car yesterday, like, yeah, let's get to the office or whatever, right? So we zoom around the corner, and I go, because there's a giant tree in our driveway. I mean, like all
really
the way across.
Giant. It's huge, like not
a
even
full-size tree.
It's like multiple, like branches over. Like it's not even just the chunk. It's like the chunk with this.
Yeah, I have a big SUV, and Hank goes to me. He's like, "Mommy, I don't think we can drive over that." I was like, "I'm like, no, we can't." But luckily, so this was at like 10 o'clock yesterday morning. Obviously, we'd had a storm the night before. I didn't know that tree had fallen down until we found it. Where we live, my neighbor, we live in the country, and my neighbor, we both have like. He's got probably like a 4-acre field in the front of his house. So literally all we did was just drive in his field around it. So yeah, we could get out. But then I had to recruit a friend, and actually my neighbor ended up, I texted him like, dude, is there any way you can help me just clear out the driveway so I can get in and out, and then we'll finish it. Yeah, so anyways, he texted me at like 5:15 with a picture of the driveway cleared out. I was like, you're the best. But men and their chainsaws, Matt's probably going to be mad that he couldn't do it himself, right? He couldn't get his saw out and do it all himself and be manly. But Marty got to be manly instead and clear out our trees so we could get in and out. It's still a jumbled mess out there. There's sawdust everywhere. There's pieces of, there's like...
be manly and clean that
up. Oh, yes. Yeah, he's going to have to split a lot of wood. We're going to have a lot of campfires.
Yeah, there you go. He was this morning, we went to breakfast, so before he went to his Bridgeford things, me, him, Matt, and then the girls came back from dropping the other boys off. We went over here to the Main Street Perk, and so it was his first time at the Perk. It was our like millionth time, because every time we come here, we go to the Perk. And because you can walk there. And so he's asking all these questions, and Connie, who works at the Perk, she's like, is this one from the city? And we were like, yes. And he goes, no, I'm from Wisconsin. I'm a lumberjack. And we're like, he's from Chicago. he wanted to be. I was like, that's like Matt saying that he is now a redneck because we got a tractor. I was like, you can't just be a lumberjack because you live in Wisconsin. Like, it's a whole thing. He's like, oh, no, a city boy. I was like, look at your hair. It's like perfectly up. You are a city boy. That was so funny. But I was like, well, funny. Your wife has been a lumberjack. Like, you guys have a tree problem.
Yeah, we do. Man, that thing just came crashing down too, man. It was like the root ball and all just came right out. My father-in-law was like, I sent a picture to the Stefan family text chain. My father was like, well, just hook a rope up to it and pull it out of the way. And I was like, no, I have a brand new car. I'm not good. It is 25 feet into the woods and another, 25 feet out into the
massive. Like, I don't know how he fell over. He didn't just faint. Like, something, like, he was big. He was so big.
Yeah. You can input a picture so people can see it.
Insert here.
But, yeah. No, I think we just Wisconsin has had a lot of rain this year, and so we had kind of dried out, and then on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, we got a bunch more rain, and I think that it's just waterlogged. And it it died.
Yeah, poor thing.
I'm sad.
Soft ground and a big tree don't equal each other. Those are not good.
No.
Okay, so like I said, we are going to do part 2, which typically part 1 is, and it was, all about like who she is, who their family is, how they met, all that good stuff. And then part 2 is how the heck they do this tournament life and all the craziness that goes along with that. So just to set the stage, like she said, we are currently in upstate New York. We are at stage 7, so final stage of the Bass Pro Tour. There is lots of stuff that happens in this stage. People qualify for things, Red Crest, heavy hitters, they qualify for next year. They Angler of the Year is announced, and then obviously we also have a tournament champion. So this week is just like there's a whole lot.
Where is your Matt in the Angler of the Year standings?
He is in 10th, but mathematically he's out of the Angler of the Year standings. So like for him, he just wants the win. Yeah. Because technically he's qualified for Red Crest, and then he was qualified for heavy hitters, and then your Matt really only had to catch, I believe, a 2-pounder to get to, like, he was already up in the heavy hitter points.
Yep.
He just needed a 2-pounder. Same with my Matt. Like, they needed a 2-pound. They just needed a fish to solidify heavy hitters. So they're both clicked in for that.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, which is super exciting because that's just such a fun, like, event. So, yeah.
You guys, if this is released on Thursday, right?
Yeah, so this episode will go tomorrow.
Yes.
Live as possible.
Right. Yeah. So go watch Matt Becker because he is leading his pool right now. So we got to root on Becker and my Matt. We also need to root on my Matt.
Send lots of prayers. We went out to dinner. We gave him a pep talk. He is your Matt is a day 2 man through and through though. So like everyone has their thing. Like Spencer typically doesn't turn on until like 9:30 for whatever reason. He like dilly dallies until 9:30. My Matt likes like 3 fish before 9:30, and then he normally has like a lull. Like everyone has their little thing, and Matt Stefan is just a day 2. He is a full on day 2 comeback man. So in our house they do like a pre-tournament talk, and in the comments everyone's like, I got Matt Stefan on day 2 for 86 pounds. I got Matt Stefan on day 2 comeback. I'm like, yes, like let's go. We need all the good energy. So
that's also an extreme. Those are always extremely funny. The house videos that Matt Becker Fishing puts out from the 4 anglers. Oh my gosh, if you guys want to laugh, they are so funny.
It's just as a little house. Like they're just.
What's that?
They're such a hoot as a house. Like their personalities, they're so different, but like so. They meld so well, if that makes sense.
They all have a primary goal of catching little green fish.
Yes.
Or not always little green. Sometimes they're brown, right?
Yeah, and hopefully they're
little fish. Yes. But I think that that locks all those guys together who are at that level. And so they can have they can have conversations that I'm like, there's like subliminal messages going on right there. I don't even know what that means. They could like they know by like just
Their
looking
eyebrows.
at people. They're like, yeah. I was like, what? Yeah,
They're too good. They're so funny. They're like my favorite thing to film, but also like give me heart palpitations trying to like, stop that there, like land the plane there, or we don't need to mention that, or what are you guys doing? Matt's like, just let it all go. I'm like, no. Like, rein it in. You'll see, or in the one for here, we didn't know this, but there's a window behind them, and you can like see me in the window going like, land the plane. Like,
now I'm gonna be watching for that.
Like, oh my gosh, you guys are gonna get us canceled.
They're funny. I love them. So and yeah, I can imagine that they would be a stressful bunch to kind of corral. So yeah,
you just never know what they're gonna say. That's the thing. Like, it's not even. I mean, it's like left field for sure all the time. We just live out there. Just live in the left field. Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's get into the tournament world, but through your eyes. So I guess let's start from the beginning here too. In the first podcast, or part 1, we talked a little bit about, obviously Matt has been fishing for a long time, but can we go into, was he fishing professionally when y'all met again, just because we're part 2, and then how did he get there, / did he always know he wanted to be a professional angler?
Good questions. So I think last time I might have said that Matt was fishing for 14 years. I am going to correct myself and go on record. I'm 98% sure it's 13 years.
Okay.
So he's been fishing for 13 years. And so we met when we were in college. So I have kind of, the best way I can describe it is it organically just moved through the stages of fishing. So fishing has always been a conversation in our household, or with the two of us. So we started just fishing like local tournaments, like the up down on the point flowage and other stuff, the regional stuff. Then so he would do just Stevens Point, and then he did regional and or state, and he just kind of kept progressing. And then when he started with FLW, I don't think you necessarily had to do like a qualification.
Okay.
As long as you could pay your way in, you could fish. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure about that. And ever since then, he's just continued to like requalify. I think the first 2 years were a struggle for him. Mm-hmm. And he tells the story about how it was like middle of a season and he did terrible, and he was like, I think I'm just gonna quit. And I was like, no, you're not a quitter. You're gonna finish out this season. And that was like a line in the sand, like a demarcation, like from that point forward in that season he did really well. And then over the next number of seasons he qualified for I think it was like 7 out of 8 championships.
Oh, nice.
And he was considered like Mr. Consistent because he would just always cash checks. He might not always be in the top 10, but he would always cash checks, which in our world that's
huge.
Primary goal, right?
Yes.
Cash checks.
Yeah.
Because that means you've done well enough, right? Yes. And you're going to continue to gain points, and points are like the end game, because the best, like your Matt right now is reigning angler of the year. Everyone wants, I think most anglers, that's like the coveted title. Like that's what everyone goes for. Yeah, we want to win tournaments, but you really want angler of the year. So all those points, because
it's consistency is what it is.
Yeah. So and then last year he was FLW and he qualified. So he was third in points out of the, I don't know, what is it, like 180 anglers or whatever.
100,
yeah.
I think so last year it was 180, wasn't it? Or 150?
I think it was somewhere in there.
It's a lot.
Yeah. So he was third in points there last year, and that qualified him for the BPT. So this is his first year on the BPT. And so now we're in stage 7, so our last tournament of our first year, and we need a really good day 2 to requalify for year 2. And I'm really, really, really hoping that happens.
Me too. I mean, the whole house is obviously, like, we love our house and we want it to stay that way. Matt Stefan's like, no pressure or anything. I'm like, no, you do apparently well under pressure. We're putting it all on. Like, all on.
And it's interesting because he's had other years, like this year he's definitely a comeback kid. But other years we've had this discussion where he'll have really strong, some years it'll be a really strong day ones. And then, you know, and this was earlier in his career, would be a strong day one and then a strong day two. And we would have conversations about, okay, you gotta put 2 good days together, right? So you can get to day 3 or you can get to day 4.
Yeah.
And so the last few years, he's really been very consistently putting together 2 good days.
Yeah.
And then this year has just been, I think it's been one of his most frustrating years ever.
Yeah.
Not because he's not fishing well, but because he's not landing the fish. So he's lost. This is the year of the lost fish.
Which I think too, and I mean, he might feel differently, but just like from an outsider perspective. So not only did he qualify into a different tour, meaning like he's on the Bass Pro Tour, they are not 5 fish. They are every fish counts. So I feel like even just brain mentality of like, I got to get this one because I got to get the next one. I got to get this one because I got to get the next one could also play into like the landing of the fish. Like it's not a let me call up in your mind. It's like I have to get, 30 fish a day. So I feel like sometimes, or it could be like a different brain mentality too. And I asked Matt about this all the time and he's like, no, he's like, because we always are just wanting to catch more fish. And I was like, yeah, but it has to play into it. Like, I feel
it's
like
different.
It has to. It's different.
It's different. Yeah. I mean,
so
and
not only did he like change entire tours, he also changed formats.
Yeah, and he's fished this format before because he qualified for one of the tournaments.
They did the championship,
the championship, but also the Detroit River. He qualified because he took second a few years ago, actually at St. Lawrence, and so that qualified him for. And then he's done some regional tournaments. Yeah, there's there's a regional tournament series around here that takes place in like northern Minnesota that does total weight. Yeah, and he'll tell you he loves it. Like he loves it. But I do think that it is a very different. I think, and I'm kind of with you on this. I think there's a very different mentality. I think Matt would agree. Like it's a different level of stress. Like you can never just sit back on your haunches.
No,
you have to continue to perform.
I have 25 pounds. I'm like, I'm good. It's like, I have 25 pounds, but the next guy's probably got 75. Like, let's go.
And he might come up
like, holy crap. And they like know because every other tour, you don't know until you get to weigh in what the heck is going on. So they like instantaneously know, like, I have 25 pounds, they have 75 pounds. Like, I gotta go,
Yeah, no, so I definitely agree that there's definitely a different stress. I don't think Matt's not cut out for it. I think it's just...
heck no.
I think it's just a different... Yeah, it's just been... I mean, many fishermen, I think, have gone through periods where it's just like a rough patch. Yeah. And...
It's waves. I mean, literally.
And so that's...
Or cycles or whatever.
So we just happened to be in a rough patch of landing fish this year.
I know he had texted like in the house group that was like it's for food basically, like what we're having for dinner, but he had texted in there and he was like, I've lost like 9 fish, and everyone texts back, stop doing that, don't do that. Like, do not do that again. Like, we're just not gonna do that, okay? We're gonna mutually agree not to do that.
Not smart.
Yes, not smart. So did he always know he wanted, so actually let me back up. So you didn't know what you were getting into marrying a dude who really liked fishing?
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think he necessarily... Yeah, I don't even know if he necessarily knew. I mean, I think it was just... I mean, I don't think anyone could ever really know what you're getting into when you get into the sport until you're in it. And then you're like, whew. Yeah, I think, again, it was just like this it was like, oh, I can do this, and then after those first few years, it was like, oh, no, really, I can do this. Like, I can compete. And then when he gained Bridgeford as a sponsor... like 9 years ago, maybe? Has it been 9? Hold on. how long have I been in? Maybe 10 years. It might be 10 years for Bridgeford now. But when he gained Bridgeford as his primary sponsor, that made it much, much more feasible because it's expensive. These tournaments are expensive. It's not just entering the tournaments, which people have no clue really how expensive they are even to just fish a tournament.
Right.
But then you have to get there. You have to have room and board, gas, all that stuff.
All the maintenance of your boat and truck and
the
travel.
Yeah. So many people
insane.
think that professionals get free boats and free trucks, and it's like, no.
Yeah.
Like I could show you our monthly bank statements. We pay for these bad boys,
Yes. I know. Even if you do, it's like it doesn't matter. It's just so expensive. I mean, everything is like it just is so expensive.
It's not really a very smart business model.
No, not at all.
In terms of like most people do not. I mean, if you look at the number of men that come, and I say men because there's only like one or two women, I think, in the profession, in the scope of professional women or fishing. But I mean, a lot of them, it's a short lifespan. I mean, they come in for a few years. They might make a little money, but it's hard to make money unless you've got some great sponsors and you're consistently performing.
Yeah, agreed. The scope of who makes it is significantly smaller, I think, than like any other sport. I would say maybe golf is like a close equator, or I mean, even like to like what we do, meaning there's only a very small percentage of all golfers in the world that can do what they do and be successful, and it's like the same with fishermen. It's just like it is a very, even in the realm of professional fishing, the ones that are actually successful, it's like a smaller percentage than I think people realize. Which is
the difference though, I think, like with golfing is a perfect example, because you might have, I don't know how many golfers golf, 200 on a tournament or something, right?
Yeah.
If you finish 100th, let's just say your top half, those golfers make like $90,000 for that finish.
Oh yeah.
Right?
I know, because
if our guys
$6 million.
Yes. If our guys win a tournament, they win like it's like, all right, that doesn't, I mean, and if you finish in the top half, you're maybe making your money back.
Yeah.
You're not bringing home a whole lot of extra bacon.
Yeah.
Versus a lot of other sports. A lot of other sports, really, their payouts are so much better than fishing, which is really frustrating because fishing is, I mean, I've heard this many, many times, but fishing is the number one recreational sport in the country. Right? I mean, so it's a very low barrier of entry, low cost entry. So where's all this money?
I know. I think about that all the time, and just like the availability for sponsorships. But honestly, like golf didn't have what it did prior to Tiger. Tiger came in and made that sport, I think, far more lucrative than it used to be. I mean, like John Daly obviously did a lot, and there were prior professionals, but like when Tiger Woods came in, big endemic sponsors came in, or big non-endemic.
Non-endemic,
non-endemics came in, and I think that's like the biggest difference. But
yeah, I agree.
So obviously, Matt, when he decided to go full-time professional fishing, he had a different previous job, correct?
Oh, he worked he worked a full-time job while he was also fishing for the first 3 years.
So when he made the decision to not do that, how did that conversation go, and what did your family think?
So the conversation was, we had bought our house in Wisconsin. We were living in the city, in Chicago, and we knew that we wanted to move out of the city. And so, but we also knew that we couldn't both leave really good jobs at the same time. So I left a year before he did. So I lived in Wisconsin, and we were already married at the time, but we did a year of long distance commuting back and forth. So he was in Chicago working his job at the Chicago Board of Trade, Chicago Mercantile Exchange at that time, actually. And I lived here. And so we said, okay, we're gonna give this a year. And so I think it was just, he wanted to get out of the corporate world. He didn't want to have to do the 9-to-5 thing anymore. So I think when he initially was like, okay, it's been a year, I'm going to put my notice in, everyone at his workplace was flabbergasted. just absolutely flabbergasted. They're like, "You're gonna do what? You're gonna go fish professionally?" And I love it when he tells the story because he talks about how he had. So he was a manager. He managed a number of people in the financial in his unit or whatever.
Yeah.
And a few of them, I guess, came up to him and were like, "You know what? I think this is absolutely amazing. Like, you've got something that you're so passionate about that you're willing to do this and go after it." And the sad part was that they literally, the only thing they lived for was like work.
The job. Yeah.
Yeah. And he was like, "Oh my gosh, I don't want that to be me." Right?
Yeah.
So we had friends who, you know, like some of his past fishing buddies and tournament partners for like regional stuff or local stuff. I think they legitimately thought he was crazy. Like, okay, well, this is, you know, let's see where this goes. Like, all right, Matt. Like, well, what are you gonna do now? You know, and I don't really know what family thought. I think his family was probably like more gung ho. I don't know what my family thought.
Did they like know it was coming though, or was it just like kind of a like?
I think family members, it was a slow progression. They kind of knew because they knew that I was here and he was in Chicago, and then it was that next year I think that he picked up Bridgeford. So it was that first year I think that we didn't have any major sponsors.
Right.
So that was like the difficult year, and then once we picked up Bridgeford, it was a total game changer.
Yeah.
So support Bridgeford Foods by going out to your local Walmart and buying some Bridgeford beef jerky. It's the best beef jerky on the market. Not even biased. Just go try it and you will tell me that it is so good, because they only use select cuts in their meat making or their jerky making process.
Yeah, he said that, like, obviously, I don't know if you went. You might have gone when they went to the plant.
I did. Yeah.
Oh, he said it was like so awesome. Like, it's very, very cool. And obviously clean and all of that. But like the plant itself and how they do their jerky and how selective they are, he said it's insane. It's very cool.
Yeah.
And
there's none of that
house,
none of the gristly stuff. It's all just like it's
good.
So anyways, support Bridgeford beef jerky. They also make pepperoni and sausage sticks.
We haven't gone the pepperoni sticks, I don't think. We'll have to talk to Matt Stefan.
Yeah, talk to him. He'll give you the juice.
Yeah. No, it was awesome though. He brought in like a whole bunch. So this year we've had Bridgeford jerky for them in their snacks. The snack section of the kitchen has now been fully stocked with jerky.
I like your snack selection. I was like, ooh, I haven't. What'd you have at Red Crest? And I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't had those in ages. I don't remember what it was anymore, but I was like, I might have to try one of those.
Yeah, I normally have like the peanut butter crackers, like a trail mix of some kind. Obviously, we normally have like your M&M bars. We do like power balls. What else is over there?
It was some kind of cookie or something. It was It was not like a Nutter Butter. I don't know. I don't remember what it was, but yeah.
Yeah, I got the Nutri-Grain bars, like Lord everything. But yeah, I tried to mix in some sweets in there too.
Yeah.
I'm just like, please take them, because otherwise they just come with us in our boxes and travel to the next place. So, obviously, Matt stays in Airbnbs because he stays with us. But has he always, or did he do something different? Like, obviously, I know Airbnbs haven't been around as long as he's been fishing, right? So did he do like hotels before?
Yeah, he loves traveling with you guys because you take care of all the details of all the lodging, and he knows how much of a pain in the butt that is, because he has for the last probably 9 years or whatever always been that person to find the lodging, right?
Yeah, and it's hard. It
is so hard. Well, because what people don't realize is that you need not only enough bedrooms and maybe bathrooms, but you need boat parking.
Yeah,
you need boat and truck parking. Yes,
and different circuits, or you blow the whole house.
Oh yeah, that's happened. Matt will wake up and be like, "Oh, well, we blew a circuit last night. No one charged, or whatever." That's stressful too. But no, there are certain tournaments, as you know, that it's very hard to book a house to stay in. So there are times when
Detroit,
he will
actually.
Yeah. So he'll stay in hotels when he needs to, but he prefers to stay in a house. And he has done that for many, many years. I think there was 1 year where he traveled by himself, early on. And so that was hotel, and that was really expensive because the nice thing about traveling with a crew is you get to split expenses. It's it's way more feasible to pay $400 for a week versus $250 a night at a hotel kind of thing. So yeah,
and
he
they're
prefers
long. Like these tournaments, they're 10 days long. So 10 days at $250 or even $150 is, I mean, it's expensive.
Yeah, and they're not there, right? I mean, they're there to like re-rig, but if they're in a hotel or even if they're at a house, they're rigging their rods, sitting in the boat most of the time, outside, so they're really only sleeping there and maybe using some Wi-Fi to catch up on social media and connections and that kind of stuff. But so he's definitely an Airbnb guy, and
and
it's just
all the time. I'm like, how did people do it before Airbnbs? I mean, I understand why people used to travel in campers more so than they do now. Like a lot of people do campers now as well, but like I think we would have had to go camper because of one, the way Matt eats, but two, like I don't think I could have just been able to sit like in a hotel. Like it's not a couch, it's not a workspace, it's a like I would not have been able to do that.
I don't know. You're right. I mean, like there used to be more resorts, so I wonder if fishermen used to stay on resorts. There'd be like a series of cabins.
Like a marina. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if there was more of those back then.
Yeah. That would make sense. Those probably, they're still probably around. They just probably put them on Airbnb to get the bookings versus like having to know someone.
That'd be an interesting question. That would be an interesting question for like any of your future women who are like older, like have been around, for a long time. It would be really cool if you could get like KVD's wife on. I mean, because she would have so much,
much knowledge. I know that was like I had Telly on, and I thought like so they've been doing it for 38 years together. Yeah, this is their 38th anniversary.
That's so long.
I know, and okay, so no, he's been doing it 38. She is with him 36, and so like I like wanted to ask her so many things. I mean, I'll probably have her on again and kind of like deeper dive, but we talked for like 4 hours. I mean, it was a long time because. But it is like they just have so many stories and like so much information, and it was totally different kind of back then, and obviously I think in 5 years, 10 years, it's going to be totally different again because housing will be different probably by then too.
Well, and just the sport of fishing is totally different.
Yeah.
I mean, even in the last 5 years. I mean, 40 years ago, they probably didn't even have like depth finders,
Well, yeah, they didn't have any of that, and then like the social component is totally changed the game. Like, I mean, the types of boats, types of motors. Could you like back in the day they couldn't even go 70 miles an hour, right? They're like hot dogging it at 35, telling their buddy, "Oh, yours only goes 27." Now we're like up to 82 miles an hour.
How about this one? Oh yeah, how much beer do they drink in a day?
I know.
And I'm like, wait. No. They're not. There's no beer involved.
Yeah. They're professionals. Do NFL players drink beer on the sidelines? Like, I always go back to like, would an NFL player do that? Because people ask me like, oh, so you get his fishing for him, or you are in the boat with him, and I'm like, does an NFL player's wife run with him down the field? No, but it is. It's like, I feel like it's hard for people to understand because it is such a big hobby for everyone. Like, you can go with the family, you can bring whoever, and even the local tournaments, they do drink beer. If you're like at a club, they'll drink it together after or whatever. Like, because it's more of like a beer league, or some of them are way more serious and they definitely don't do that. But like, depending on how local you tournament fish and what they do, they probably think that they do it out here too. But no, our boys are in bed at like 8:30.
Yeah.
I mean, they're like little old men. I mean,
you're Matt. My Matt, he's responding to comments on YouTube, and he's like falling asleep at the computer at like 10 o'clock. But there's
no. The only Matt doesn't drink during my Matt doesn't drink during tournaments. Generally speaking, this trail is different in the fact that they have an off day in between. So like we went out to dinner last night and he had like a beer. So because he has like the, you know, day in the middle, but no, there's no beer drinking generally speaking. Not on the boat 100% because that's illegal. Also, no drugs. Like it's a professional sport there that is illegal. They're not allowed. Obviously, none of our guys smoke, but like they're not allowed to smoke on live. Either they're not allowed, or they're not supposed to have like a dip in. None of that stuff.
Really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
And back in the day, they had to wear khakis, pants only. So like some of those rules have you know, alleviated. Obviously, they're allowed to wear like shorts and stuff, but yeah, no. Back in the day, it was like very tight on what you could wear, like on the Bassmaster side.
I didn't know that. I mean, I always wondered why they wore like long pants.
Like button downs. Like
yeah. The jerseys back then were just so funny. You know, like they're just so funny, and now they're like so much cooler, and they look. Jerseys. I mean, like literally cooler, like, you know, in terms of temperature wise for them, because man, it gets hot out there for them too.
Yes, super.
Yeah.
So, do you guys have any superstitions or traditions that you typically do every tournament? Like in my mind, I was thinking of like your M&M bars or your cookies.
Yeah.
But do you guys have something that you guys do?
It has been cookies and our M&M bars on and off. Yeah.
Sorry, there is.
Well, I was told that M&M bars are not good luck this year, so I'm not allowed to make them anymore. Because that's why
I really like them.
Oh, sorry.
No.
And so, but cookies have been one of those things where I will a lot of times send him off with chocolate chip cookies. And I honestly, for this tournament, I kind of forgot. And so he was going, because he left on a Thursday night, and I could have had time on Wednesday night to make them, but honestly, I just totally forgot.
Yeah.
And so he's like, "Do I get cookies?" And I was like, No. And he's like, "Oh." And but that might be the closest thing we have to like a tradition or routine or anything like that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I mean, he gets himself ready and packs all his stuff and preps all his tackle. You know, specifically, you know, rigging all his rods and everything the few days before the tournament, and before he leaves. Other than that, I think if you asked him, I think he has a lot of superstitions.
Yeah.
You know,
does personally?
Oh yeah. Well, he had a lucky sock a few years ago because Hi, Matt. He had a lucky sock. Well, because it was one of Hank's little sock was stuck like in a sleeve or something, and so he went to put his sweatshirt on one day, you know, when it was in there. So he carried it with him all season.
Oh my gosh, that's so cute.
And he had a really good year that year. Now the boys a lot of times will make him a bracelet before he leaves, like the plastic bracelets. So he has a lot of he had a bracelet last year when he won on lacrosse. So it's actually over the top of the bass, the head of the bass. The bracelet is like a necklace almost on the bass on the trophy.
Oh, I love that.
No, other than that, not really.
Yeah.
There's not. I mean, we're kind of boring in that respect, maybe. But we also
Matt's also.
Honestly,
you guys have had more. Like, I feel like we have a lot of like meaning me and Matt have a lot of like routines in the way that we do things. But honestly, not a lot of people have. So I like that you guys do have one. Like, and I think people when they think about it actually do have more routines or superstitions that they don't even realize that they do. Consistently, like if I was to follow them around during a tournament day, like I definitely think I could pick up on the things that they do. So no, I'm glad that you're like very aware of them.
Well, Matt has to like make his bed.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know. Do most men have like a lucky underwear thing?
Like my Matt has underwears.
I don't really know if Matt has that, but
and my Matt says like he's like, I don't believe in superstitions because if it was a superstition, I'd win every tournament. And I'm like, I get that. However, I do think that there's like good, you know, like good mojo going into the tournament that like you can change, or you can mess with or whatever, like
Yeah.
it's like a head thing, I think, is what it is. Like, he still wears the dang underwear every tournament, so clearly he thinks about it a little bit.
That's funny.
Goofball.
Men.
So when you are not here and he has a tournament day, so like yesterday or like tomorrow, what is your routine? Do you watch live? Do you text him? Do you have any routine, or is it just like a free-for-all day?
Well,
Or like a regular day?
Yeah, well, this year is a little different, right? Because they have breaks in the middle of their day, so they have periods where they can they
actually do
they
something.
can actually call, which is really strange to me.
It's so weird.
Because the vast majority of his career, it's most of the time we didn't even have live, so it was just like you had to watch the weigh-in to see where they finished, right? And when live kind of came on board, or when live updates came on board, that really stresses me out, because not so much with BPT, because BPT, they have to be within serviceable area, right? If they're outside of serviceable area, what do they have, 2 minutes to get back or something,
15.
or 5 minutes? 15?
Yeah.
So everything is updated accurately.
Yeah, regularly.
But many times on the other circuits, guys just won't record their fish, or they won't report them back. And so you're like, wait, does he actually not have any fish? Or is he actually winning the tournament? You don't really know, because you have zero idea
it's
if he's
zero. It's an unofficial leaderboard.
Yes.
It is zeroed, and he could be putting them in, but it not be clicking over or whatever. Like, there's no standard with any of the other circuits, so you have no idea.
Yeah, so like last year when he was fishing the Mississippi, we thought he had no fish for like the first, and he went into the day 3 in second place. But he had already qualified for BPT, which was the primary goal, and I sent him off that morning. I was like, just go have fun. Just go have fun. Like, we had no expectation of him winning. And so, like, halfway through the morning, I'm like, God, he's got no fish. And then all of a sudden, he, like, pops on the leaderboard, and he's, like, leading, right?
Oh.
But that's because he didn't weigh any of his fish until he started culling. So once he called his first fish, he put all of his weight into the scales, and we're like, well, thanks for giving us heart attacks here,
I know.
So
we thought you were broken down, or something happened, or something terrible.
Yeah. So I mean, Hank loves the leaderboard. He loves watching live. So he'll watch, and he'll be like, "Mommy, Spencer's in first. His average fish is 5 pounds 2 ounces," or whatever, right? I mean, so. So I get updates with Hank when I'm with Hank, but it kind of goes back and forth. Sometimes I'll watch, and sometimes I won't. If I know he's got a camera, like this year it hasn't been great because he hasn't had a camera. But if I know he's got a camera in the boat, I'll do a much better job of paying attention and watching, because he's really, I'm biased, but I think he's really good on camera. Yes. And not in terms of fishing, No, but
education-wise. Like,
like the speaking
good.
portion.
He explains what's going on. He, is actually entertaining to listen to.
Yeah. And he doesn't have a southern accent, so I'm like, what did that guy just say? What? Was that English?
He says, boat. On this side of the boat. I can't do it, obviously.
Boat.
The boot on this side. The boss of the boot. So does it change at all? Meaning your daily routine when he is home versus not home. So kind of talking obviously when he's not home, you guys are watching him or watching what's going on and talking, but does your actual routine change, or do you guys just integrate him?
The only thing that really changes with routine is the days that he's fishing. We'll make sure that we've got live on. I used to, when there was a weigh-in, and you never knew exactly when the guys were going to weigh in. You had a range of time you thought that they were going to be on stage, but especially when you're dealing with an FLW event where you've got 150 plus fishermen, you don't know exactly what time. So I have a TV in my office, and I used to be able to mirror my my iPad. So I would have the tournament days when they were weigh-in days. I would mirror the weigh-in onto our screen. We would turn off the music and we would watch the weigh-in. So many of my patients are,
Also
I mean,
watch.
I don't do that now because I don't have any weigh-ins, right?
No.
But many of my not older, but patients that have been with me for a longer period of time, they would walk in and they'd be like, huh, where's Matt fishing today? And so they knew exactly what was going on.
Yeah.
Or they'd have a new person come in and they'd be like, what did I get myself into? Like, what is going on? And then we'd have to explain, okay, well, Matt's a fisherman. He's, and then he'd come on screen and everyone would stop. I'd be like, stop. What
does he got?
Yeah, yes. So, but other than that, I mean, our routine doesn't change. I mean, kiddos really, they thrive on routine, I think, anyway. So most of that stays the same. My office stays the same in terms of like when it's open. So we really can't have that much of a shift in normal when he's gone. And then when he's home, it changes because I have someone to help watch the kids, so I don't, like on a morning like this morning, they would have stayed home with Matt versus coming with me. But we just kind of we've done it for so many years now that we just kind of,
he just like adds in. It's not like dad's home, let's just pivot.
Yeah. Well, it's more like, yay, dad's home, Yeah.
It's like now like fun family integration than like just total change in routine. I think
and then we have November and December when he's home and he's like bound to the house and he gets like like stir crazy, and I'm like, okay, we need to get you to Florida, like when is this first tournament coming around? You need to get that boat down to Florida and get fishing.
Get out. I know, that's like when we come home for long stints, and people who watch this podcast know, like, I have my 2 days, like, especially because, we're gone for lots of weeks. Like, I have 2 days where Matt better not ask for anything. Don't really speak to me. Like, let me just sit in silence of, like, nothingness and read my book and not be needed for anything. And I need, like, it's really, like, 1.5 day, because the second day I, like, start unpacking and stuff. But he's, like, an unpacked right then when we get home, even if it's 2 a.m. individual. And once we're home, like, I need a wind down period. I'm like, get out of this house, go to the garage, go do something else.
I think it's awesome that you have that 2 day period, that you know yourself enough to know that, because otherwise you could like grind on each other and be like, versus like, okay, just give me some space. I need time to breathe. Because what you all don't realize out there watching is that Brittany works really hard during these tournament weeks. I mean, in terms of like dropping Matt off, picking them up, food, like all of the logistics and all the stuff, and it's also
all
just
of his
stress.
Like YouTube editing, all his social content, the sponsor content, like just all of it. So when I get home, I just need to not be needed for a little bit.
Does Matt get cranky though, like towards like December, early just January, like where he needs to just get out of the house and like? Although you guys probably have open water down by you, so you can fish more year round. We can't, because we get this thing called ice. Yeah, and that is honestly like half of the benefit of moving to Tennessee is really like he has now bodies of water that he can fish. In Pennsylvania, we would travel south a little bit sooner, and this, like they flip boats, trucks, so we're like working on that side of things, but he doesn't typically go more than like a week without fishing, or he does. Wow. He gets stir crazy. I mean, like, it's not good. I think I would find him fishing in the bathtub if he was longer than like a week, because he really. So I get every off season, I typically plan like a 2-week trip, which that has nothing to do with bass fishing, and like that is his max. When we get back, like he's fishing for days after that. Like, but where have you gone? Tell me where you've gone.
So our first year together, we did an RV road trip. We flew into Vegas, did 24 hours in Vegas, which was like so awesome. We gambled, obviously. We love blackjack and roulette, and we made enough money to literally pay for that trip. So it was awesome. So we left Vegas. We went, we did all the national parks basically. So we went to Zion National Park. We went to Valley of Fire first. Then we went to, oh my gosh, what's the one right behind with the hoodoos? Bryce National Park. We went over to Page like and saw Lake Powell, and then like Horseshoe Bend. We went and hiked the Grand Canyon. We went down into I guess Route 66 into Kingman. Oh, we went to Flagstaff, like that. Okay, so we did that whole thing, and then the next year we did Maine, Acadia, in the middle. But where did we do for our big trip? We did. Oh, wait, was that the year? That was the year we went to Florida. So we were on Sanibel Island. Highly recommend to everyone. Like, it was amazing. He did catch ladyfish, but no bass. Like, we were on the coast, so no bass. And we fed the ladyfish to an eagle, which was so cool. Yeah, like the bald eagle was like, caw, I'm ready. And Matt would catch him one, throw it up. He would swoop down.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah, it was awesome. And then I planned Alaska. So we did Alaska last year. This year was technically going to be Hawaii. And it still might be. Our issue this year is they changed the team series up. And so it's like 4. So we are in the first stint, but we don't know where we're going to be in the second stints. So I can kind of plan around it, but it's kind of a lot this year. So I think our trip is actually going to be closer to the end of the year and over the holidays. And I think we're going to be on a cruise ship, and it's Matt's first time on a cruise ship ever. And so I'm like super pumped to see how he does with that, like fully isolated to a boat. So we'll see how that one goes. But I think that's going to be like our trip, but it'll be like in December. So I try to do that, but that's about the extent of him no fishing that he could do.
Yeah. Very cool. I love it. I love that you guys do that, because that's part of the beauty of the sport, is that you have that time that you can kind of, there's not, there's sponsor obligations, and like you said, there's turning over trucks and boats and kind of that stuff. But if you time it right, you can get away and enjoy.
And it's like the planning. You have to like plan it, because and you know this probably better than anyone. Like the season, it makes your life faster than I think a regular life speed goes. If that makes sense. Like I don't know if I have that perspective, because it's been my only life. Oh, that's true.
Like you jumped into it 5 years ago or whatever, but so that would be a better perspective for you.
Yeah, and you were slow, so because you would grow with it. I would say, and I don't know because I don't know what my life would have been like without it, other than what it was before him. And I feel like what it was before him, it was still fast as I got older. But this, like, we just planned so far in advance that, like our year is technically over after August. I mean, that's like, how did
that's another, and like, that's another thing that I think is crazy, is that people like someone the other day was like, oh yeah, well, Matt's probably in the high part of his season right now. Like, where is he fishing? I'm like, he's been fishing since January. You know, like no. This isn't the start of his season. This is the end of his season. Yeah.
Well, a lot of people think we only fish in the summer.
Yeah.
With good weather, or they'll be like, oh well, it's too hot to fish. I'm like, what does that even mean? Like, are you kidding? They fish in the heat, they fish in the snow, they fish in the ice, they fish in the storms. I mean, as long as it's not lightning, and even then they still fish. They just have to take the cameraman off because his contract says he can't fish in the lightning. Like,
my Matt does not fish in lightning. If I find him fishing in lightning, he is in trouble.
I mean, once they release them, which this is also a good thing with the Bass Pro Tour, they can get up with people quicker because they all have officials, they all have bat phones, they have stat units. However, the other leagues, and when they release you at takeoff, they can't tell you stop fishing because not everyone would find out at the same time. Bass Pro Tour, they can start and stop you. A lot easier, but still, even in the lightning, it is up to the boater what's safe. Yeah.
That's wild.
So knowing what you know now, having been in the industry for a little while, would you choose this life all over again?
Yes.
And knowing that everyone does it a little bit differently, from your perspective, what do you think makes a successful What do you think makes a successful bass fishing couple?
Oh, I think there has to be, you had the word independence last time. I think the person at home has to have some level of independence, but I think there also has to be a lot of encouragement from both sides.
Oh, I like that.
Like, yeah, Matt is very encouraging of me and like what I undertake in my office or in life, right? Like, he's my number one cheerleader. And he would also say that I'm his number one cheerleader. Like, I think it, and I kind of alluded to this last time, part one, is that I think a lot of the fishing couples probably struggle because women don't realize how much effort and focus and, like solitary, one, it's just a single focus, that they get. And if you're not willing to support that or understand that or be willing to be backseat for a little bit, you're gonna have trouble.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And it's not like you can encourage them to think differently. Like, that is how their mind works. Like, that is what they love. Like, and you can't encourage them to do differently because it won't help.
Yeah.
I think it hinders.
I think, and I don't know about you, but I've found over the years, like, Matt just talks, as humans, we have to talk things out, right? We work things out by talking. And I've learned over the years that Matt will talk, he'll be like, it might be like 6 weeks before a tournament, and he'll be like, yeah, I think I'm going to go for largemouth up the canal that, I found 3 years ago in, to Lake Toho. And I'll be like, okay. Great. Sounds good. And then 3 days later, he'd be like, no, I changed my mind. I'm going to go for smallies and we're going to go over here. And he just like talks it out. And before it was always like, I'd be like, why are you telling me this? I don't understand. It doesn't really, I can't
don't
help
even know how to input. Yeah.
I
don't know what
but
to
I
say.
think now I just know that he's just talking it out. Like, he's just literally figuring it out as he's talking through it. And so now I'm just like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Like, like, let's do it, like, okay. And so I just know, like how to like maybe just be like a sounding board better for him too.
Yeah. More of a venting sounding board.
Yeah.
Okay. Last question. I think we might have time just for one or two quick hits. So I'm going to do that. But last question. And then we'll go into that. So what are you most proud of that you guys have accomplished together?
In terms of fishing?
Or non-fishing, either or. Yeah.
What?
Well, no, it's okay. Fishing or non-fishing?
Fishing, I think the most proud is just the longevity and his consistency over time, right? I mean, because it's not easy, and we've been able to get stronger, I think, as a married couple. So that might be the other thing too, is just the evolution of our relationship through time and getting stronger. So that's probably how I would answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then obviously the boys, I mean, they're awesome.
Yes.
Most of the
time. They
time.
go in with the relationship though too, I feel like.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to wrap up with just a couple quick hits. What is your PB? Where did you catch it?
I have zero idea. It's probably, I don't even know. It's probably in Hayward, probably on Round Lake. It was probably like a smallie. I don't know. I don't actually have any clue.
What about, can you back a boat?
If you give me enough time.
Yeah, okay. I like it. And if you played Uno together and you had a draw 4 card, would you play it on Matt or would you wait until you got a reverse?
Yeah, no, he would play 100. This is how long ago we go back to college, before we were even dating. He made a draw 50 card, I think. He made it. It looked perfect. What? So he would play the draw 50 card on me. So yes, I'm playing a draw for a card on him.
And then one more thing. I'm taking this from another podcast, but I love that they do it. What is your question or a question you have for our next guest without knowing who that is?
What's been your favorite lake you've been to?
Oh, that's a good one. And that is our show this week. Thank you so much for being here and making time for part 2. And thank everyone else for being here as well. Where can they find Matt? We put this in part 1, but just real quick. Where can they find Matt?
So Matt is Matt Stefan Fishing on YouTube. He is Matt Fishing Stefan Fishing on, I think, both Instagram and Facebook.
Perfect.
And I think YouTube is his big one though.
Yeah, YouTube is definitely. He posts there once a day, so
Yes.
lots of content, which is good.
Tons.
Okay, you guys know I love all of these women so much. I love the women behind Professional Bass Fishing. I just know how hard they all work to make this life possible. It is not an easy life, but I want to continue sharing their stories. So you guys know, one episode a week, every Thursday if I'm doing really good, Friday if I'm not. But generally it's every Thursday throughout the rest of this year. So make sure you subscribe to follow along and follow at Random Kitchens Podcast on Instagram for updates. But other than that, we will see you guys next time. Bye.